So basically what we got down to intensity. Intensity of effort. Okay, relative, I'll come to, sorry, I got a quote from Drew, so I'll leave the intensity in a minute because I'm going to come to his quote in a minute. Progression. Everything should be aimed at progression. What do I mean by progression? What do I mean by progression? More weight, yep, we can progress by adding a little bit more weight. Regular adding, okay. Yep, shortening times between reps, yep. Results, yep. And you want to see results as well, and I'm going to come to that again in a minute too, sorry, so you're a little bit ahead of me there. Okay, like I sort of look at progression with the weight, yes, but not so much always the weight as well as I think we sort of might have overdone the weight a little bit, but more focusing on the muscle, you know what I mean, making sure the form's right, but that's sort of another part. Changing the sort of pre-exhaustion type methods. I don't know if anyone's ever used those. I'll come to them in a minute actually, sorry. But yeah, so progression is maybe more reps or not more sets in a sense, but not with actually when you start to re-progress as well, because you can do too much as well. So recovery, you must have recovery between your training programs or training days and things, or some types of recovery. Again, in most training programs, even in the HIIT world, they'll have different types of recovery. Some people once a week, as probably Doug said a little bit. Some people a couple of times a week. Some people will do 3 times a week. You know what I mean? I generally twice a week. I do 2 sort of different types of high intensity training programs. One on Monday and one on Thursday. Thursday, because it gives me a 3 and a 4 day break between them. They're the main sessions I do as far as my resistance training goes. Okay. And most of the high-intensity guys will do something of that nature, at least twice a week. Form. Probably one of the hardest things to sort of explain a little bit, but form, okay, in terms of, remember, this sort of thing, not doing that, okay, doing it correctly. A few other different types of exercises where we do them, but form, and I'll come to that again a little bit later when we're learning the high-intensity. Duration, basically, you know, how long, 20 minutes, or how long you're doing your sets or your training program for. And frequency and the order of the exercise. Okay, so the order was all so important. Arthur used to always do the bigger muscles first, like the legs and stuff, you know what I mean? And then they'd go to the upper body. What's the biggest thing? Sorry, yep. Oh, no, I was going to say, what's the biggest mistake most people make when they train? And I think actually Mark alluded to that a little bit too, sorry. What's the biggest mistake most people will understand about the focus? They focus on the upper body, okay, and leave the legs alone. Now, at some point in time, what will end up probably happening a little bit is that your upper body will stop growing. The body sort of holds a proportion. It sort of tries to stay in proportion. So you really need to make sure you work your legs hard as well. And so most guys with the chicken wing legs, okay, once the upper body's grown, it's hard to go back and get the legs to grow again. Okay, so you need to sort of really make sure the focus is there, and the upper body will grow a bit as well. Okay, it will grow in proportion. The original HIIT workout is prescribed by Arthur. This is Arthur's original one in 1970s. 3 times per week, 30 to 45 minutes, 8 to 10 exercises. Now, they've done a whole body workout, circuit style, and no rest between exercises. So that was one of the original ones they put in the 1970s, and he sort of set it up as a circuit style. You'd go from one exercise straight to the next one, and you'd progress around until you finished the program. The Nautilus gyms were set up all around the world and stuff. They had that sort of training program when they were doing them. Now, just one of the author guys you got there, Drew Bay. Okay, Drew's, when I write about HIIT, I especially mean progressive resistance exercise performed with a high level of intensity. Intensity is your level of effort relative to your momentary ability. What do I sort of mean by this one here? This intensity is your level of effort to your momentary ability. So everyone can train high intensity. everyone can, you know what I mean? It's sort of what I mean is everyone can train high intensity in a sense. Everyone could probably and may do it and not even realise it. It's probably a little key part. I'm just probably on this one here a little bit. The intensity is your level of effort relative to your momentary ability. Relative to whose effort? Doesn't matter what weight you use. Okay, good. Also, it's relative to you. Not relative to someone else, relative to you. So basically, remember I said about the rep? Working through the set. Okay, you get right to the end and you can't move the weight. That's the sort of traditional high intensity sort of thing, and you hold it isometrically for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, and you put it down and you've done everything, your effort. The intensity there sort of is a part of that process and your momentary ability. So if you are really at the end and you're really fatigued with it, you've done everything you can as far as up to that point, okay, as far as your momentary ability. So the intensity of effort is relative to your momentary ability. What high intensity training is not. Now, I sort of wanted to put that up there a little bit, but running, treadmill, running, cycling, paddling, boxing, various groups. A lot of people will actually put out there it's high intensity training or high intensity interval training. It's progressive resistance training, high intensity training. That's what it is. That's why I went back and done the sort of history of it a little bit for you. Okay, you can use a lot of high level of effort in these if you're running and that's your goal and those types of things, which was for me. Okay, I mean, I like the running and the swimming and that sort of thing. But just in terms of it's not what we call high intensity training. Is everyone clear on that part? What I mean now, it's progressive resistance training. So don't get confused by some people using high intensity training outside of that. That's what the original meaning of it was, and that's the way it is today. Yes, we can do a lot of high level of effort, but it's not high intensity training. Anyone happy with that part? This is sort of how I describe the 6 pillars of proper exercise. This is what I put on my brochures and stuff that I hand out to people, you know, training or when I'm trying to explain to them what I'm going to do. High intensity, brief workouts, infrequent workouts, precise record keeping. Why do I point that one? I didn't point the others. Does anybody sort of want to have a guess? How many people go to the gym? How many people write down what they do when they're at the gym? Okay, good. It's more than I normally get, okay? If you don't record it and don't keep track of it, you don't know if you're really progressing. You can't commit it to memory, you know what I mean? Or next time I'll go and do that and that. Key part of the whole process is recording what you do. There's different levels of recording if you want. I just generally write down how much weight I lifted, and I use the time under tension method, and I write down sometimes I write how many reps I did, or sometimes how long I've done each set for. So I've done one for a minute or a minute 30 or something, I'll record them. But I can keep track of it. It's my way. I know what I'm writing down in the sense. There's no one way, but you must use at least a way. And there's a few variations, but you could also go a little bit further and write down how you felt during the workout, you know what I mean? A bit more the professional athlete type person, you know what I mean? Or someone like that. You might want to record how you slept and things like that, you know, good night's sleep sort of thing, you know what I mean? Okay, so you can probably record them, but at least make sure you write down, if it's even only briefly, a brief note. Most of the people I know who get success in that out of their training have recorded down. It's not just by chance. Okay, it's not, because you can tell then if your progression's going backwards, which can happen quite quickly, and it can happen before you know where you are. Oh, all of a sudden I'm not lifting as much, or all of a sudden I'm sort of feeling weaker and that. Oh, hang on, you've got it all written down. Okay, so I really push that to everyone I speak to, and especially the students I teach, and that record it, write it down, write down what you do. And nothing unnecessary. Only train what you need to train. Any more training than you need is too much. Okay? Any more training than you need is too much. Benefits of HIIT. Reducing fat levels, improving functional ability, maintaining. Has anyone sort of just heard of all those a little bit? The benefits. Look, most resistance and weight training benefits will be some similar. I've trained a lot of women. Probably one of the benefits of the job, high intensity, and their shape changes, and they're very happy. The dress size that they didn't fit in, they now fit in. You know what I mean? For girls, that's a big important thing. So, but basically, there's a lot of benefits to strength training. A lot of benefits, and I'll just use strength training there because there's a lot of different styles of strength training. But just in high intensity, we know these things work, and I've tested it on people that the high intensity training method works. Right? So I've done the testing. Learning HIIT. Now, HIIT is a learnt process. I'm coming now, so hopefully I get towards the end here a little bit. It's not something you can just go in and say, I'm going to throw a few weights around today and I'm going to do high intensity. It's a learnt process. You'll have to go and either, well, be taught by somebody, okay, or do what I did and go back and trial and error a little bit first because nobody else was doing it. Or just sort of that process and get some advice on that, how to structure your program, put it together, and then look at some of your different training methods. So it's not something a lot of people do, but it's a learned process. So just I left those things, especially Drew's website, and that, if you've got it there. Great website to go to, so you can follow up on his, you know what I mean, if you want to pick up things. Please go to his website and thank him for that article too once you just go in there and say, you know, what you are, and thanks, I went to 21 convention and I like your articles or something, you know what I mean. Learn the exercise.